Speaking of which, I think you're good to go.
All right, good morning, everybody. I know there's some that kids are out of school now, or it's the last day or last week, and we're starting to have some people just sort of get sidetracked. But thanks for everybody being here. Today we're going to talk about branding. And I guess the first question is, before we actually do that, you may see a new face here. Charu just joined us from another brokerage yesterday. So this is her first day, official day, yesterday, half day, by the time we got you signed up.
Half day, yeah.
So welcome. The question that I want to ask everybody is, how would you define branding?
Branding, I guess it's type of awareness that you create about yourself or maybe about a company. That is what the branding
Right.
is.
So
Yes.
awareness, okay?
Yes.
Okay. This is open mic session. Go ahead, Nancy.
It's when people see something and they know it's you without actually reading that it's you. When we think about branding, we think about if you see golden arches, you know it's McDonald's. It doesn't have to say McDonald's.
Okay, good, excellent. Morning. So the question that we're just putting out on the floor is, what is branding? What's your definition of branding? So far, we have awareness. We have the ability to be recognized without them having to actually read, or they know that what that is. Any other thoughts?
I think
Kind of
another
promoting yourself ourselves.
Okay, Rick, good. Yeah, Elizabeth?
I think another thing is like incorporating different elements. So not only your personality, but maybe colors and style of video and content like that.
Okay, good. Okay, any other thoughts? All good input. Is branding advertising?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is advertising branding?
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. How you advertise or market, is that branding? Okay. So the test to that would be, branding is basically exactly what lots of you have said, okay? You've recognized the fact that branding is not just about marketing. Branding is your brand, it's you, okay? It's who you are. And it also means who you are inside and outside of real estate, okay? So when you are looking at branding yourself, you have to make sure that it's you that you're branding, not a facade, because sometimes people get into real estate and they go, I have to be this kind of person, or I have to do it this way for my real estate side. And yet that's not really who they are. Okay. And you have to be cautious of that, because that's not your brand. Real estate is just an avenue for your brand. And so you have to be very cautious on not being you and creating this false brand. And I'm going to explain. Anybody know why you have to be cautious of that?
Authenticity is everything.
Exactly. Because when you're branding, your whole goal is to get people to like and trust you as the brand, so they will do business with you and refer business and do repeat business with you. So the brand is more than just what you put out there in marketing, what you put out in advertising. The brand really is your reputation. It's, who are you as a person? The people, the consumers, when they see your branding, And it could be the videos, it could be anything that you're marketing, anything that you're doing. And then when they actually get to meet you in person, are you the same person? Are you projecting the same image? Are you saying the same things in the same tone that you're doing in your videos as you do in person? Because if not, your brand and you are going to clash. Okay, because consumers are then going to go, wait a minute, that's not the person that I came to like and trust on the videos that they were doing. Nancy, go ahead.
There's a local agent here. I met her I've met her in person before, but I met her in person at the Cottage Life show. Her business card looks absolutely nothing like her in person. And I think people have trust issues with that too.
Totally.
Like I would not, if I was looking at her business card and I ran into her on the street, I would never know it was the same person.
Was it like a really
Exactly.
outdated photo?
Oh, like totally, like 15 years.
Hmm.
Right. So what happens is now she's gone and put some marketing out there, let's call it business card, but that's not the real person. So as soon as you have the consumer that through your branding gets to know you as a brand per se, through your videos, through your marketing, through however you do that, we're going to talk about specifics, but there's no sense getting into specifics until you understand exactly what branding is. Okay. So you have to be able to be the same person that you are in person as you are branding. Because if not, all that money, all that time you've spent branding, as soon as you get in front of a consumer, you're going to lose them. They're going to go, wait a minute, what's going on here? This is not the person I came to like and trust. This is not the same, same attributes that I wanted to work with. Well, now that I've met them in person. So you got to be really cautious of that. The other thing with branding that's a little bit different than marketing is you have to be, and these are just my opinions as well as some of the research that I've done over the years, you have to be present and engaged in your brand. Okay, so it means that you just can't do one particular thing and think that's branding. It all has to be together. It all has to be, for instance, if you're doing a video, okay, the brand should be you in the beginning, again in the middle, and at the end. And it's not your voice, it needs to be you. They need to see you, hear you, and see you. Okay, so when you're doing a video and all you're doing is talking, and they're not seeing you, so you're behind the camera per se, it's not helping your brand. That's marketing, right? Because they're not getting the full you. They're not getting the body language. And understand that body language is about 55% of where consumers are going to feel more comfortable is through body language, right? So you have to make sure that, they're in sales, there's always been, or even just in communication, right? One of the most important things about communication is looking someone in the eye when you're actually addressing them, right? Lots of people forget that. They'll talk at you, but they're not looking at you. So now imagine a consumer that's hearing you, but not seeing you. Right? So really important that you be present and engaged in your branding, which leads back to how are you marketing your brand? Okay, so keep that in that part, and always think about the consumers are trying to build a brand that's likable and trustable so that they'll do business with me. So how do I do that? And if you're afraid or if you're behind the camera and you don't want to get in front of the camera, get over it. Because if you're not going to do it, you're wasting your time doing that because all you're doing is marketing. Okay. The other thing to understand is the brand is you. Okay. So who are you? What do you like to do? Are you sharing that? Is your brand being something that people can look at and go, that's the person I want to deal with? Okay. Now, that means that are you engaging people outside of just real estate? So if your message, if your brand is strictly 100% about real estate, you're losing majority of the consumers. Understand that the real estate side is just an avenue. It's a relationship business. Yeah.
I just want to call on Elizabeth real quick because I saw your video this morning, and in the first 5 seconds, other than saying, you know, come spend the day with me as a realtor, the first thing she talks about is not real estate. It's about that she likes making bread, and she shows off the sourdough that she's made. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I didn't know she was into baking or anything like that.
Right. And so a great point, because actually one of the stats shows if you are looking to build your brand in real estate, you have to build the relationships first, which means 80% of what you are branding is you. 20% is business. Okay, so if you're always doing just video about real estate stats or video about this house or this walk through this tour, you're losing, that's marketing. That's not branding. Okay, so how do you tie it in so it becomes branding? Well, we're going to talk about it a little bit further. Okay, so what you have to understand too is like when you're looking at if you're looking at buying a car, if you're looking at getting something for a house, or if you're looking at going on a trip or doing something and you're doing your research, what is it that you're actually looking for?
Reputation of the company.
So reputation of the company, okay.
Reviews.
So you check reviews, okay, good. Well, what are you actually looking for?
Good deal.
Somewhere that looks relaxing.
So some of that relaxing information.
Fair price.
What makes you make the decision?
You're reliable or trustworthy.
Liable, trustworthy, okay? Nancy, like,
Oh.
If you're
That was
Nancy,
my
oh,
answer.
that was your answer. Okay.
That's what I was
if
gonna
you're
say.
Nancy, yeah, that is an answer.
So what is it that you're looking for? What is attracting you to make that decision? Okay. You ever
Good
heard the term,
experience.
have you ever heard that likes attract likes? Okay. In some cases, what you're actually looking for is somewhere where you are going to feel comfortable. You feel that you're going to be, it's a trustworthy place. It's a trustworthy company that's going to give you good service. And you've done all that research and you could look at all the stats you want. Stats will be probably number 5 on the list of why you make a decision, why someone makes a decision to work with a specific brand or company or go to a specific destination. Because you make the decision because you feel that you can like and trust, and it's a place you feel that you're going to fit in. So when you're doing your branding, are you making sure that that branding that you're doing is going to attract people that you actually want to work with? Right? So where's your focus What niche are you doing with your branding? Because if you're trying to do the one thing to everybody, that's not branding. Okay? Branding you should have, and not saying that you can't work with different avenues of business. But you need, a brand is where they actually have a niche. You know, based on a consumer, when there's a brand, a proper brand out there, there's no uncertainty of what they do. Right? So is your branding doing that? Or are you just marketing? Right? So the thing to keep in mind is you have to create a target audience. Right? If you're doing branding, can you brand, if you're trying to brand to renters, and then you're trying to brand to luxury, and you're trying to brand to doing some commercial leases, is that branding? Is it? No, it's not. That's marketing. But if all of a sudden you are doing a niche business and your focused part, one of your main branding focus is, let's say it's social media, and you're really doing everything on social media and you're becoming an expert in condo board management stuff. And that's your niche. And that's because something like what Julia does, you think about a downtown condo and who's the person you're going to go to because she's done research on all the condominiums. She's been on boards. She knows the inside out of condominiums. It's Julia. That's, to me, that's a brand, right? That's her niche. That's part of her brand. So what's yours? Right? So what do other realtors look at as being your niche? So if a realtor is going to go, hey, I have a person that needs to buy, pick a certain location, a luxury house, and they need to be in a specific school district, does your brand portray that? That they would find you in doing that, right? So branding is being able to have a target audience that you are going to be really focused on. Okay, not saying that you can't do some of the other stuff, but branding is you really have to have a focus on making sure that you have at least a niche, whatever that is. But it's got to be something you're passionate about, because you can't fake passion. Okay, so that's part of your brand. It's got to be you. And find out what that one or two things are, and that should be part of your brand. And the reason is because what's the easiest way to talk about something? Like if someone said, okay, in the next 30 seconds, you're going to stand up and you're going to talk to us for a minute. What's the easiest thing for you to talk about? Herbert, if I asked you, 30 seconds from now, what are you going to talk about?
Jiu-jitsu.
Perfect. Dave, put your hand up.
I was gonna say it's something that you enjoy the most.
The thing you enjoy the most. What are you passionate about? Right? If that's not in your branding, then it's not you. You're not branding, you're marketing. Okay? Nancy.
I was just my comment on that question was gonna be, most people feel at ease talking about themselves. Which
Yeah.
kind of fits in with talking about what you like and all that kind of stuff.
Right. You'd be surprised how many people do not want to talk about
I was just
themselves.
gonna say, that would be the last thing I would talk about.
Right? So okay, Nancy, in the next 10 seconds, I'm going to ask you to talk about anything. What are you going to talk about?
I'm gonna talk about the weather. It's really hot out. How is it there?
Okay.
I sell in Northern Ontario. Things are beautiful.
Forget real estate. What do you really enjoy?
I enjoy taking my dogs to the beach. I enjoy taking them for walks. I enjoy socializing with my community.
So is that all in your branding?
I don't know. I mean, the magazine came out last night. I was at the launch.
Yeah, good. So that's where, what I'm trying to get people to understand, okay? Branding is people want to know what the brand is. Okay? The brand is you. Are you portraying who you are and who you really, who you are? That needs to be in your branding. The rest of it's marketing. We're going to talk about marketing versus branding, but it's really important to understand that the brand is something that you have to really concentrate on because it is different than advertising. It's different than marketing. Okay. Before I go on any further, questions, thoughts?
That was one thing that Louisa was really good at. She had
Right.
her billboards had her dogs on them. She was brilliant when it came to that.
And because that was her love, that was her passion.
And people knew
Yes.
she's the one that had the dogs.
Yeah. Real estate is real estate is a byproduct of a relationship that you're building with a consumer, and you're building that relationship and making sure you keep building that relationship, because the real estate side of it, that's just the sideline. You're helping them in buying, selling, leasing, helping family, but your brand is why they keep dealing with you. And brand is more than just your real estate knowledge. I have clients of mine that they say to me, one of the reasons why we keep dealing with you, and I'm going, nice guy, I don't know what. You always get back to us in a timely manner. And that was way before we even had email. Right? So part of my brand is I always have strived to be quick to get back to people. And I know sometimes may not be as quick as what you guys need it, but I think most of you can say, hey, when I reach out to him, he gets back to me relatively quickly. Well, that's been my brand for 45 years, right? Same with Nasir, right? Nasir's brand is, part of his branding is, people know he's going to be showing up on time, if not early. Always early, wait until, so what is your brand? Elizabeth?
I think that's a great point to bring up because, like, what are your clients complimenting you on, or what are they saying to you? Because that just happened to me. They said, like, we just feel so taken care of with you. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's what I want my brand to be, is like, they know I can explain anything that's complicated. I can break it down for them and they can feel taken care of. Like, I think we should all ask our clients why they like to work with us.
Great point. And that's actually one of the topics in branding is, what's your goodwill? Okay. So under goodwill, part of that's what's your reputation? Okay. Are you under promising and over delivering? Or is it the other, where you're over promising and under delivering? Either one's going to be your brand. So what is it that your clients, consumers are seeing you as? Not what you see yourself as, but what are they experiencing? That's your brand. Okay. So I think one of the things is that if you don't have a brand, then that's something we got to work on. And brand is more than just a logo. Okay. So we are going to get from branding into how do you brand across everything, but understanding that the brand itself is you. So you've all got to look at, what's your reputation? Okay. Are you persistent and consistent? Are you making sure across all of the different medias, all the different avenues that you do, are the colors, photos, are they all the same quality? Is everything matched? Nancy has done very, very well to make sure that happens. Between her billboards, her signs, her flyers, her advertising, everything has the same photo, looks the same color, same font. That's different than marketing. That's branding. The message, though, is the marketing. Okay? But the brand, and we've got some of the stuff on the table here. That's her branding. Now, that's part of supporting her brand, right? Is how are you doing your marketing? Does it all tie together? Is your social media site the same as your website? If it's not, then that's not branding. You've got to fix that. Okay. The other things to look at is visibility wise. Okay. Are you being consistent? If you're not being consistent promoting your brand, then all you're doing is on and off marketing. Okay. So that's the biggest thing is you got to make sure that part of your branding is you got to look at your marketing and make sure that's consistent. Are you doing 2 videos a week and making sure they're being posted across all of the media? If not, then all you're doing is marketing. You're not branding. Okay. Elizabeth, you had a comment or question?
I was just going to add that I used to work in like the corporate PR marketing world, and some people like wore their brand colors to every client meeting. So not only was it on social media, but like they bought blazers and shirts and pants in that very specific color. And then it like bled into their real life. So everyone, when they saw this royal blue color and this woman, they knew that she was the smiley PR person. So you could take it to the whole next level if you want.
Right. And but it's got to be you, right? It's got to be you. But that's part of that marketing strategy is part of the branding. Okay. And again, we talked about be distinctive. What makes you unique? What's your value proposition? Yeah, Nancy?
Actually, this was, sorry, not to answer the question you just asked, but we are very blessed to work for a company that lets you brand, because I work very closely with Coldwell Banker here. All of their signs need to be the same. They can't be unique. They can't change their sign. They don't put their face on it. They're all the same.
Okay, good point. Yeah, it's important to have that flexibility to be you. Yeah, thank you for that point. Any other thoughts so far? Okay. One of the things that you have to look at with any brand, doesn't matter if it's real estate, any brand anywhere, is what is the personality of the brand? And the things to always look at are you doing a SWOT analysis? Are you looking at what the strengths of that brand are? What are the weaknesses of that brand? What are the opportunities of that brand? And what are the threats of that brand? So what you have to look at is when you're doing your branding, are you also looking at and analyzing the results? Okay. What are the actual strengths of your brand? Are you promoting those strengths? What are the weaknesses? What are you finding? And sometimes for the weaknesses, you actually have to go out and get outside input, because you may not know what the weaknesses are of your brand because you're only looking at it from one vision. Whereas feedback from your consumers, feedback from your colleagues, they may look at it and go, hey, you know what? We see there might be a gap missing here. And it could be as simple as, hey, we noticed that, and Michelle has done that lots of times when she'll look at doing a social media audit. She'll look at your bios, your across your different things. Many times she's found out that one site will have a bio that says certain things, and then another site of that same person has a different bio. Similar topics in it, but it's a totally different bio with a totally different picture. So the branding is not there. That's just marketing. So that's where sometimes if you're looking at your brand, you need to ask for some outside independent not gonna say criticism, but outside independent analysis, right? To help you look at possibly some weaknesses that may be there. And then what are the opportunities for your brand? Right? All of a sudden you've got, maybe there's a niche that you haven't gone into. Maybe there's something with your brand that you're thinking of, like you've got a talent that you're not even exposing to anybody. And maybe that talent can take you outside to a different, introduce you to a different community of people. Right? So are you looking at that as an opportunity? And understanding that real estate is the sideline. Real estate will happen once people like you and trust you. Once they like and trust the brand, they will continue, and then they work with the brand. They have a great experience with the brand. Then they're going to repeat business with the brand. They're going to refer the brand. So is your branding of your business, branding of you, doing that? Right? So there's some opportunities there. And then the threats would be, what outside influences are hurting your brand or could hurt your brand? One of them is as simple as, you don't have any reviews. That's a threat. Most consumers are going to look for reviews. If you don't have a review, really that's a threat, because you're not even getting the opportunity to present your brand because you don't have any supportive, comments and things like that, or reviews. Does that make sense to everybody? Understanding the difference between looking at you as the brand. Okay. And I've talked about it before, but is your brand a leader in the space that you want to work in? So would you be a go-to person if a news station all of a sudden, hey, we've got to go talk to somebody in this area, and who's the go-to person? Is your brand a possibility of them to do that? If not, then that's an opportunity for your brand. Okay. Okay, everybody questions on the branding part? Is that information helpful, or have I just screwed everybody up with going like, what the heck? I thought I was branding. Right? Okay. Lots of you have, great marketing, and it ties in to everything. Like, we've seen a lot of great stuff. Eric has been doing it for years. Same color, same photo, same tagline. That's his brand. And he really pushes his brand through social media, Facebook. He's decided his niche that he is going to do is, I'm going to give the best professional service, and I'm going to build my business based on doing that. And people are going to know because they're going to see my card, my signs, my marketing, my tagline. Everything is built around my brand, which is to give professional. What's his tagline, Elizabeth?
Your personal professional.
You beat me.
There you go.
Brilliant.
That's his brand. And he lives to that and gets repeat business because people know, right? But at the same time, he's also, if you watch his branding, talks about his drumming, talks about, invites people to the concerts that they were, or the places they were playing. So they get to know the brand more than just the realtor. Okay. So he's been really good at picking a niche and working that niche and branding. Okay. Nancy's been building the same thing once, she was in an area where nobody knew of her, or very few. So she decided, I'm going to brand myself, and has done very well doing that, is reaping the benefits of it. But what is the brand, Nancy? How could you share with us everything that you've been doing with the marketing, but where is the brand that people find you?
I have actually, had people say that they don't actually drive by my signs, but they can see them from a distance and they know the blue. That's
Okay,
kind of my branding. I mean, everything, like you said, everything matches. My business card matches my billboard, which matches my shirt, which matches everything. Like
yep,
I have a baseball cap that's the same color.
excellent. So all the marketing ties into the brand,
Yeah.
right? But you said to me that where is the first place people find your brand?
Google.
And what's the most important part of your Google page?
My reviews. I have a 5-star rating.
That's your brand. Your marketing has supported and your actions as a realtor has definitely supported and created your brand. And now the consumers are learning about your brand through third-party endorsements. That's when a brand takes off. When a brand has third-party endorsements, that's branding. That's not marketing. So what are you doing? Yep.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be rude. I think with my Google reviews, I think if you get into like the branding and then the marketing, most of my reviews are about being available, being, consistent and being trustworthy. If you read my reviews, that's pretty much what it boils down to.
And that's your brand. Well done. And you're reaping the benefits now.
Oh, I am.
I know. You hit your target, right?
Well, my target was 20 ends, but financially, yes, I have exceeded my target.
For the year.
Yes.
Already.
Oh, man.
Well done.
Thank you. And I have 2 deals on the go today.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, she's keeping me busy.
Which is great. So again, what is your brand? What are you doing and making sure that brand, it's more than just, I really wanted to get the understanding that it's more than just having, it's more than just that your business card has a logo on it. Okay? Really important that the brand is you. So how are you branding yourself so that consumers, past clients, they know when they contact you, they're going to get the same experience that they got from your videos, the same experience that the person that referred you to them is going to get. Okay, that's branding. That is the biggest part about branding, is making that while you are sleeping, your brand is working. Okay. So, and if you're, then, we need to have a talk about that. Okay. Any more questions or thoughts on branding? Does it make sense? Does this all make sense to everybody, so that you need to really have a look at, or have a third party look at what you think your branding is doing and what is your brand? Because we're here to help. We've got some great minds that you're seeing them do it personally. We've got lots of different experiences. We've got people that have gone to courses, university, colleges, based on doing marketing and branding and the difference. So we've got lots of in-house availability, and obviously lots of outsourcing that through different relationships. Okay. So if you're struggling with it and you want a one-on-one, reach out to us. Okay. Before we get off branding, marketing, any other thoughts, questions? Because I do want to tie something into that.
I do.
Okay.
Scott, when you say like branding about the niche, right?
Mhm.
Like, suppose if I'm doing condos, right?
Mhm.
Can I do at the same time commercial? Because you said you have to take a niche so that you are unique in the market, right? The people know about it, that you are dealing with that particular segment, right?
Okay.
So is it good for any of us? Like, can we do a mix sort of thing, or it has to be only one thing?
I wouldn't say it has to be one thing, but what you have to understand is a brand really is focused on doing what is a niche, for instance. You could do residential real estate as your brand.
Hmm.
In that you could focus, absolutely be a condo specialist, right? But you can still do some other residential. I personally would recommend that if you're trying to build your brand, very difficult to be a commercial person.
Exactly,
Okay.
yes.
But here's the difference between a brand and just being in real estate. I have people that have called me, and I'm sure all agents will have somebody that's going to go to you and go, do you know anybody that could help me with my commercial project? Not asking you to do it, but they're coming to you because why are they coming to you? They're coming to you because your brand is knowledgeable, honest. They know they're going to get guidance. So that's the branding, okay? So to say to them, yeah, I can help you do commercial, and you've never done commercial, you're actually tainting your brand. Where you'd be better off to say, I appreciate you coming to me. Absolutely, I can help put you in touch with the best person to help you. That portrays your brand of honesty, integrity, wanting to give the best service. Okay. So that's the difference between branding and just being a realtor in all aspects. And lots of realtors will bounce around trying to do all kinds of different things,
Yes, I've seen that.
right? But that's just being a realtor who's not branding and not focusing on what they're really passionate about in real estate. If you're really passionate about commercial real estate, get into commercial real estate. But if you're just dabbling in it, unfortunately, you're actually hurting your brand. It's great then if somebody came to you and said, Charo, can you help me doing this? And you go, instead of you saying, yeah, I can, you basically go, I'm actually going to find the best person to help you do that. And if it's okay, I'm going to just also be involved just to make sure that one, I get to learn, which I'm always trying to learn, and two, just to make sure that everything goes the best way for you. Would that be okay? So now as a consumer, you're going like, you know what? I'm glad I called this person. To me, that's the branding. The branding is you being who you are. Get back to understanding what your brand is. Your brand is being able to give best service, right? Be honest, be out there, be passionate. If you can't service somebody, let them know, but let them know you're going to get the best person for them and be involved through it. That would be my recommendation. Nancy?
I know I've talked about this before, and I don't know if it really wraps into this, but also too, if you're gonna brand being a residential, for an example, real estate agent, when somebody calls you, you're gonna get their trust if you know what's going on. If you can say, oh, I know what you're looking for. There's X 123 Main Street that is exactly what you're looking for. Like, know your market.
Yeah, knowledge. Right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. Knowledge. Okay. And so what you have to look at though is exactly that. So part of your brand is, does that answer your question, Charlie?
Yeah.
Okay. But if you want help with commercial, let me know. I know a little bit.
But to touch further on that point, because we've come across this ourselves, myself and Joseph, is because we brand ourselves as residential and all of that, we have had people reach out for commercial as well. And because we've already established that trust, the speed at which that decision is made is astronomical. It's so fast, and if you can redirect them, like Scott is saying, to say, well, oh, you're looking for this, an industrial commercial, let me redirect you over here. My goodness, the level of trust you've
Yes.
increased it tremendously, because it's like, not only did I go to Charu, but she didn't know about industrial, but she pointed me to the right direction. That is massive. That
That
is
makes sense,
huge.
yes.
Yeah.
Good point. Okay. So part of branding, part of marketing is consistency. Okay. What are you doing consistently? Is it reinforcing your brand? For instance, how often are you communicating with your database? How are you communicating with the database? How are you personalizing the information to your database? Or is it just generic? If you're trying to build a brand and the brand is likable, trustworthy, consistent messaging, I know I can reach out to this person, and you want to build the brand, are the messaging that you're sending out reflecting that brand? It's fine to have generic information going out, making sure that is, your message, okay? But are you also being consistent with your true brand to the individual? Are you looking at the individuals and making sure that, for instance, I have clients of mine that are elderly. And I've spent years, and just moved them into Welland. I was in the car, I picked the phone up yesterday or yesterday morning, and I just left a message for them, said, hey, I'm just checking in to see how you guys are handling this heat. Is there anything I could drop off for you? Just making sure that, the new place you moved into, air conditioning's fine. Just let me know how you guys are doing. That is branding. I cared about it. Is your brand doing that? Okay. Are you doing those kinds of things that are not marketing, but branding you? Really important. Okay. Follow up is really important. The consistency of your messaging. Okay. And sometimes, especially when you're starting to build your brand, the follow-up that you're doing may not get the response that you're not getting the response back, because it may only be because you're only trying to do passive marketing, not reinforcing the brand. Keep in mind that your brand is based on probably 55% body language. So instead of sending a generic email out or a newsletter, are you sending them a personal video as part of your branding, part of your follow-up? Are you actually stopping by and just, hey, I was just in the neighborhood, I'm just going to pop by? That's part of your branding, is that follow-up. Okay. Especially after you've done a transaction, majority agents in this business do not keep in touch. So what is their brand? Sell them and leave them? Don't use that as a tagline, by the way.
Relationships where it's like, I enjoy these people and I keep, you spend, like a concentrated amount of time, let's say, trying to help them find a home. You're out there with them all the time, and then they buy it, and then it's like, oh, I'm not gonna get to see you anymore. And, I keep following up because it's like, hey, how you guys doing? How you like this? Because I feel I've made friends and I want to nurture that and keep it going.
Right.
Not necessarily because I want another transaction. I just, generally like these people and, who knows where it goes.
The easiest way to build your brand is to, we talked about it earlier. Like attracts like, right? Yeah,
I've
Nasir.
had a client say, we'll miss you,
Yeah.
not
Oh,
seeing you.
look at
literally,
that.
More than once. So obviously, and one was just for a rental, and hopefully they'll be buying later on. So, it gives me.
Yeah.
So I say just, we can have a coffee sometimes too. Like I always reply and say,
Yeah.
I miss you guys too.
Yeah. So you should already have in your day timer when you're gonna contact them for a call,
Yeah, that I forget some.
right? So that should be, and that's part of the branding, right? Part of your branding is, right? So part of the branding is now you reach out to them 3 or 4 months from now and say, hey, you know what? You ready? Can we get together tomorrow or the next day? You know, let's grab that coffee. You don't think that strengthens your brand, right? That's branding. That's not marketing. It's not advertising. That's branding. So what are you doing to make sure that it's in your daytime or so you're not, well, crap, forgot to do this. Nancy,
I host a ladies' lunch every 6 weeks for clients. And some personal friends that I think are going to mix well with clients, because a lot of my clients are coming from out of town and they don't know anybody. So I kind of network them together, and it's a great experience. And it's usually 8 to 10 people. We get together for lunch, and it's just a ladies' lunch.
wonderful idea. Excellent.
It works
Again,
well.
yeah, well, and that's your branding, right? So now what happens is you're bringing people together in a community that probably wouldn't come together on their own. Right? So that's your branding. That's not marketing. Okay. On the topic of follow-up, how often do you find that people respond to what you're sending?
Over 50%.
50%?
Or more.
That's great. That's a great response.
Majority will not even, sometimes they don't reply, they're busy.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but sometimes you can follow up a few weeks later saying, I hope you got my message, or,
Yeah.
and then they'll respond.
So follow-up is being repetitive, right? Being consistent.
Without bothering them though.
Without bothering them,
If
yeah.
you become too much of a pain, they'll actually tell you, please unsubscribe me.
Yeah.
After the sale, I've had that too.
Yep.
It's direct follow-up, like if I'm, doing it personally to them as opposed to, I'm sending out a newsletter to
General.
everybody. If it's a direct one, I would say, yeah, the response is usually very good. Yeah.
Okay. How often are you following up? Well, it's right.
No.
How often are you following up?
I would say I go through, my database probably every quarter.
Every quarter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Happy New
So,
Year.
so
Whatever.
is that print? Is that a call? Is it a face-to-face? Is it a video? It could be. No, what is it though?
Well, for me, it can be, it depends on the mood,
On the
right?
client,
right.
Depends on when I'm sitting down, it's like,
Okay.
and also depends on how have I communicated with these people before? What do they prefer? They prefer a text, they prefer an email. You know what? I'm picking up the phone because, we have great chats on the phone. So
Yep.
it depends on, yeah, how the relationship is sort of developed.
And that's the brand, right? That's part of reinforcing your brand. Reinforcing your brand is your brand known as someone that is genuinely following up, is caring about them rather than, are you a transactional brand or are you a compassionate brand? You could be both, unfortunately, or you can't be the same, but there are brands out there that are strictly a numbers game. And if that's what you want to be, then you have to target your marketing that is your brand. And that's what people are going to know you for. Or are you the compassionate brand? Are you the caring brand? Are you the involved brand? Are you non-transactional? Knowing that transactions will come from it, but what is your marketing? How is that reinforcing the brand? Okay. An example of that would be if the only branding marketing that your clients are getting from you is when you sell something, and that's all you're ever sending to them is, hey, I sold another one. I sold another one. I just listed this.
They could resent that too.
Okay. Is that transactional coming across, or is that you being compassionate? Okay. So what is the marketing that you're doing the follow-up that you're doing, is it reinforcing the brand that you are?
A big help for me is a CRM. And whenever I talk to somebody over the phone or in person, I make notes of what they said to me, right? I still communicate with an elderly couple that I leased an apartment to 2 years ago. And the first thing I always say to them is, how was Florida? Because I know they go away to Florida during the winter time. So it's like, are you guys back from Florida yet? You know, did you bring that weather with me? You know, and now the conversation opens up to something completely different than just real estate. You know, so I'll make those notes in there. You know, they just got a puppy. Great. 3 months later, hey, how's the puppy? How's the training going? Holy smokes. The conversation is different because we're not talking about real estate. We're talking about something that they're invested in. And the notes is key.
That's what I was just gonna say, that's why using the CRM and using the notes, it is key because you start building your database. How are you supposed to remember the conversations or about these people? I mean, I rely on that all the time. It's like, okay, and then, you know, what's going on? What did we talk about last time? So, that to me is like something that everybody should be on.
Yeah, but that is building your brand, right? Because it's not transactional, right? People, consumers, us personally, you know, we will relate more to someone that's showing an interest in us versus just interest in themselves. Nancy?
Exactly.
You know, the consumer can actually spot if you care or if you're just being transparent. So that's something you need to think about as well. I mean, one of my sellers, one of my listings, his mother just passed away. And I sent him a card and I called and talked to him. And people can spot you a million miles away if you're just making a business call or if you actually care.
Yeah, good point.
Typically, when you are reaching out to people, at least that's what I find, you're not talking about real estate. It's like, you know, make that connection. Hey, how are you? Like, let's talk about you. How are things going in your life? And then if they say, well, what's going on in real estate? Okay, well, then now we talk about it. But typically, I'm not pushing real estate. I'm just trying to continue to build that relationship and connection.
So when you are doing all of that, it's important, again, to make sure that all your marketing ties in, right? So make sure that you're looking at your marketing. Is your branding consistent across all platforms, as we talked earlier? So those are points to make sure of, okay? The messaging that you're putting out, okay, is it consistent with who you are? Okay. And it really needs to all tie together because the brand that you portray are going to really be directed by the results you're going to get. It's real easy to screw up a brand. Really hard to build a good one. Okay. And you've got to be really consistent. And that's why it has to be you. Okay. People will know, just as, you know, Nancy just said, people will know if, you know, the brand you're portraying is actually you, or once you take your business clothes off and you put on your other hat, are you a totally different person? And that will come back, right? So just make sure the brand is you, you're passionate about it, and that your marketing ties in, but understand there is a difference between advertising, marketing, and actually building you as the brand. Okay. Any other points? Questions about anything now? Hopefully this information was helpful, including sort of the follow-up and what you have to make sure that you're doing consistently, the messages that you're putting out, how you're delivering the message. Is it consistent across all platforms? Because you may get people that may not respond to you directly, but all of a sudden they check out your Instagram, or they check out your Facebook, or they're on your website or your LinkedIn, and you don't even know they're doing that. And those don't tie in to your brand, you've just lost that opportunity because you will not get it back. Okay. What's going on out there? My condo sold firm.
Lucky you.
So that's done.
Especially condo, yeah.
Yeah. Sold for 600, so that's great. Timbermount, yeah, sold for 600. I told you the property that I've been working with a year and a half on, firmed up in just outside Owen Sound, so that one's done, which is great. We're getting activity on the one on Danton. And ironically enough, it's an area, as I mentioned to you, speaking of branding, it's an area that I did lots of work on. I moved into that subdivision as one of the first owners and did all the flyering, did all open houses, door knocked. People across the street from the one we had listed asked us to go in. And I'm sitting down with them going through everything, and I just said, just coming in for a conversation. I did not do a formal presentation in any way. I just went in with a discussion. Turns out they're first owners. And they said, Scott, we weren't sure. And until you showed up in our driveway, we recognized the name. But we remember all the businesses you've done, all the stuff you've done here through all your flyers and everything. And and we just chatted about the community. We chatted about when I would say, hey, you remember when we moved in? These houses here weren't here. I could look out my back window of a beautiful sunset. She said, remember the farmer that used to bring down the ponies for the kids? And I said, yeah. I was there 2 hours. We talked real estate, half an hour. Right? Now, she did say, Scott, we are definitely going to be selling, may not be. I said, if you don't have to sell right now, and we talked about their house and, things that I recommend they would do. And then I said, if you don't have to sell right now, Sam, you're just going to retire in a couple of months. Waiting is not going to hurt you. Right? They're going, oh, God, we felt like if we're going to miss them. I said, unless something drastically happens within the world, I feel, and I've been doing this long enough that we're really at the bottom and I'm sensing momentum. So if it takes you until September to be ready, that's okay. But if it's going to be November, wait till April. They have a pool, they have a back, all that stuff.
Man.
And so I said, it's not, and they're going, really? I said, yeah, don't worry about it. You don't have to. So am I going to get the listing? I don't know, because she said, Scott, in all fairness, our kids are involved a little bit where my son wants to bring his realtor by. I said, hey, I appreciate that. But, I said, one of the things you have to understand is people buy houses based on emotion. And there's one thing I can certainly create about this area is the emotion, being one of the first owners here, watching it develop. I've sold easily over 400 or 500 homes in this area over the years. I know every model, I know everything about the builder. And actually, ironically enough, I said, you've got a pool. You know how many people are afraid of a pool? And they're going, oh, I never thought of that. I said, I open my pool, I'm the pool boy at my place.
Yeah.
I'm the cabana boy. Right? So I can certainly make a consumer, potential client, feel comfortable about this. And so all I was doing during my conversation was my actual listing presentation, but it wasn't formal. It was a discussion, letting them know how I can help get them to their goal. Right? Anyway, so we'll see. So, yep, what else got going on? Yep.
Question.
Yeah.
So you said if they were gonna wait longer in September, then you would tell them to sell in April.
Yep.
And to avoid, like, if they wanted in November. Why is that?
Their property, to maximize the dollars, I personally believe that for us to maximize their dollars, I need to have the buyer experience the whole house, including sitting at the cabana in the backyard. When I show a house with a pool, I make sure I sit down at the table outside. I don't just walk around the backyard. I'll actually sit at the cabana and go, hey, you guys okay if we just rest here for a second? All I'm doing is letting them stand. Have you ever been in a backyard when the only time you look at this beautiful pool is from You walk out the kitchen door and go, oh, that's lovely. You gotta walk to the back end of that property, turn around and go, oh my gosh, look how, I didn't realize this house was so big from back here. God damn right I did. I knew exactly what I was doing, right? So that's why, for me, to get maximize their dollars is in April. I'm gonna get them to open the pool. I'm gonna get them to put all the patio furniture out. I'm gonna have it so that we're gonna take photos during the fall and everything, showing the colors. But April would be the perfect time to market that home again. That's why. Unless something in their life changes where they go, you know, we need to sell. Any new listings? Any,
Got another offer on the house.
so you got another,
Another agent altogether.
okay,
Sorry to
so,
hear that.
so the one
I
in
know.
Brampton?
Same one, yeah.
Okay,
And the, anyway, so I'm just
good.
waiting for the
Okay.
client to see what they want to sign back.
All right, good luck with the offer. Okay. Anybody got any questions, thoughts? What's going, what are you seeing out there? And just because the hot weather is here, do not stop. Consumers, I'm telling you, are out. They are there. I'm seeing the momentum. There's a shift. Their buyers are starting to get off the fence. Okay,
I'll be going to Hamilton on Friday. I have a buyers looking for a 5+ bedroom home in Hamilton. So they sent me like a list of properties. I'm going to go through those lists and just let them know which ones are the better choices for them for their particular needs.
great.
But the homes in Hamilton, my goodness, they are just sitting there. 90 days plus is very common. Multiple price drops in Hamilton. I've seen homes going from 800,000 from the original listing. Now they're listed for 650. So, and dropping. So
Yeah.
great news for them, for the buyers, bad news for Hamilton. So
I'm telling you, like right now, the best thing you could do with buyers or people that are possibly selling to upgrade, just go on and get a little bit of research on economists. There's been 3 different economists that have already come out and said if everything stays as it is, the economy, marketplace, even now that tariffs seem to be coming in line and a little bit more understanding of what's going on there. It's amazing how many of them have come out and said, there will be people that this time next year or fall of 2026 will go, I wish I would have bought a year ago.
yeah.
Okay, so again, it has to be you, right? Make sure it comes from you, but third-party endorsements really work well. Instead of you saying, hey, I'm just telling you, like the market is going to shift and we're starting to see it already, the momentum. But hey, I just thought I'd let you know, here's what this economist has said. And even if you take a little snippet of that or send them a link from it, let them be the ones and all of a sudden go, hey, just, you know, the economists are saying like this time next year, or, you know, summer, fall next year, there are going to be unfortunately some pretty sad consumers that didn't buy this year. Do you want to be one of those? That's how you leave it. Right? So it's not you pushing them, it's a third party, an educated third party that is putting the idea in their head. Yeah, Jake.
Is that also including condos or is that more so just on the,
Condos is a little bit longer, but we are actually, I had a conversation with a very large condo developer. The comment that they said this would have been Monday, so a couple days ago. They are now back on track where they're looking at fast tracking some of their sites because they're expecting that in 18 months from now, they're going to start releasing a project or two, and they know that they have to be the first to market because there will be other developers that aren't quite ready to release. because they came out and said, we know that within the next 18 to 24 months, there will be a lull in pre-construction. Okay, and a lot of the stuff that we're seeing now, so there are some builders that have projects that they have to finish because they've already started, but they have some units available still. They are either, you know, trying to sell those with incentives, or some of them are actually renting them out. That won't flood the market for pre-construction 18, 24 months from now, because that'll already be washed through the system. So for condos, they, you know, that is still right now, there's some great opportunities, you know, hitting the right price. There's like, you hit the right price on some condos. Well, we looked at one in the one with, like, I brought to your attention
Yesterday. yeah.
okay? An older condo in Mississauga near the hospital, so Highway 10, Queensway area, 3-bedroom,
3-bedroom,
one bathroom,
Two bathrooms.
two bathrooms, so 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. How many square feet?
over 1,200, just
Okay.
over.
429.9.
The cheapest in Mississauga, by the way.
$348 a square foot. Wow,
What's that?
that is a deal. It's on Confederation Parkway.
Yeah.
2323 Confederation Parkway.
2323 Confederation Parkway. It carries at about 3,500 per month for a mortgage, but it's a 3-bedroom. If you rent out the 2 other beds, you know, if you're a single person, it's perfect.
Right? So to me, that's, you're looking at something like that where, and you know, the condo fees, I think were 1,100, but that included everything.
Everything,
That's
yeah.
the internet, the cable, that's everything. So the only thing you pay on top of that is your taxes, and then just depending on your mortgage payment, then, you know, that's an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So there are, for condos, there are opportunities. And so that's what you have to look at in all aspects of the condo. And that's still, so for me, I absolutely, to answer your question, Jay, would be, yeah, there's an opportunities for buyers to find, you know, good property right now. So a year from now, if the interest rates and what all projections are, they will adjust down. And the economists are saying the market will continue because on the strength of the economy, right? We're going to get through the tariff stuff. We're going to get through a lot of the political stuff. You're going to start finding where, especially, you know, they're already projecting that there are companies in Canada that are going to benefit from interprovincial consumer spending money in the provinces. I can tell you conversations I've had where I know friends of mine, instead of going south to golf or they're right now golfing in East Coast. Never been. They're going, well, let's go. I've got people that have booked campgrounds. Instead of going to the States, they're staying in Canada. They're trying different areas. That helps the Canadian economy. So just keep doing that. Yeah, Nancy.
I think that's why we're so busy up here. Josie and I are like, we're getting smoked.
Great.
Because I think it's because people aren't traveling to the US.
Yeah. And so, and the conversations I'm hearing is that this just isn't an overnight thing. I have consumers that I've heard, well, I've been sort of involved in different meetings and conversations where they're going, yeah, you know what, we're done for 3 or 4 years. We're, you know, it's not something that we're looking at doing. I have good friends of mine that own places in the States, and they're getting out.
I know someone who did that. They had a place down there, they sold it and
Yeah.
they're back here.
Yeah.
Not interested in being down there.
Yeah, I got friends of mine that are now going, they went to Spain this year for February and half of March. Yet they have a place in Florida that they went to all the time. Nope, not doing that anymore. I just talked to him, happy birthday to him, and I said, so where are you going next? He said, we've just booked, we're going to Italy for 6 weeks. Next February, March. And I said, what about the state? No, done. Not going back. He says, actually, They were in Spain. He said it was cheaper than us going to Florida.
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah, he said the dollar, the accommodations, the food, everything. He said, so and then while they're here in the summer, they're spending all their money and they live right on Lake Erie. So where they used to be able to go down, just cross the border, go to the States to do all kinds of stuff, they're doing everything in Canada. So what this translates to is the fear of, what was happening with the tariffs and interest rates and things and what was going to happen with the economy. Economists are looking at this. They get the data, right? And they're looking at this going, there's good growth, there's good sustainability happening in Canada. So so what does that mean? It means for next year, people are going to be in a place where they're going to go, okay, I feel comfortable with my job, companies are hiring, companies are, right? So answer your question, Jade, again, is are you using that third-party information to get your people excited about going like, this is the right time? Right? Best time to buy real estate is when everybody else is selling. Best time to sell is when everybody else is buying. So what is your brand projecting? What are you projecting as a brand on some of that? Okay. Anything else? Okay, well, good to see everybody. Hopefully, there's some points here. And again, if you find you're struggling with this topic and aren't sure, we can absolutely start meeting with you and go from there. Okay. Any other questions? Nothing? All right, take care, everybody. Happy Canada Day because it's on Tuesday. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. Bye.